Okay, this is chapter 1, section 2, and it's properties of numbers. We are going to focus on 4 properties of numbers: the commutative, the associative, the identity, and the distributive. We'll talk about the first 3 and really what makes them that property. And then we're going to do some example problems with them, and then we'll talk about that last one because the last one's a little bit more complicated, I guess. So the first one we are going to talk about is the commutative property. So in the commutative property, order changes. So if you think of it like a commute, if your parents are commuting, then the order of the cars can go back and forth. So that's the idea of the order changing. Now, we have it in addition. We also have the commutative property in multiplication. So you can add in any order, or you can multiply in any order. Examples of this would be like 3 plus 8 is equal to 8 plus 3. In multiplication, if we do 5 times 7, it's equal to 7 times 5. You can even see that with parentheses. So 5 times 7 is equal to 7 times 5. So watch out for both of those because they mean the same thing. So we have the commutative property. Remember, commute, right? The cars can switch places. Now the next one that we talk about is the associative property. Okay, that's a TY. Now, the associative property has to do with grouping things together. So, if you think of associates like at work, sometimes these people are friends and then sometimes these people are friends. That's one way to think of it. I personally find that if you guys connect associative to the idea of parentheses, you can kind of see that it looks like a little bum. So you just have to connect associative to that idea that is. And rarely will you forget. I know it's a little inappropriate, but I bet you won't forget it tomorrow. So the associative is easy for people to remember. Now, you can have the associative property with addition, so you can add in any combination, like 4 plus 5 plus 1. If I add 4 and 5 together first, it equals the same thing as 4 plus 5 plus 1 if I add 5 and 1 together first. So do you see how that parentheses, those groups have changed? These two used to be friends, now these guys are friends. So you can think of it either way. A lot of people just like, anyway. Okay, so you'll notice though that the order does not change. The reason why the order doesn't change is because if it changed, it would be the commutative property. So our order doesn't change, but what we're combining is changing. We also have the you can also do the associative property with multiplication. So you can multiply in any combination. For example, like 9 times 2 times 6. 9 and 2 you can multiply first. Sorry, I kind of screwed up what my 2 looks like. Okay, and then over here, 9 times 2 times 6. If it's easier, you can multiply 2 and 6 first, and then times it by 9. You're going to get the same answer either way. So the third one we're going to talk about, the third property, is the identity property. Now, when we're talking about the identity property, you need to realize that the value of the number does not change. So, value of the number does not change. So we have the identity property of Okay, we have the identity property of addition, which is by adding 0, which does not change the value. So 4 plus 0 is still equal to 4. The value, that identity of 4, has not changed. It also works with multiplying, but we aren't multiplying by 0. This time we have to multiply by 1. So adding 0 doesn't change the value of whatever number you're adding it to, and then multiplying by 1 doesn't change the value of whatever number you're multiplying it by. So 8 times 1 is equal to 8, or you could even see it with parentheses. 8 times 1 is equal to 8. Does not change that value. It doesn't change their identity. So we are going to do an example of each of them, and then you guys are going to do an example. The first one, I'm just going to do them all down here at the bottom. So if I have 2 plus 7 plus 8, and it's equal to 2 plus 7 plus 8, the first thing I want to realize is my order didn't change. So I look for other things. I notice I have parentheses. Now I'm telling you, parentheses are the easiest one to remember because you can kind of associate it with something a little bit juvenile, I guess. I don't know. So, not even juvenile, inappropriate, probably. Sorry. So, you see that those parentheses have changed. These people were grouped together. Now these people are grouped together. So we know that this first one is the associative property that is being used. The next one, you'll notice that 25 times 1 is still equal to 25. Our value did not change. So that's going to be the identity property. And then this last one, what this is really saying is 4 times 3 is the same, it's equal to 3 times 4. So in that example, we've changed places. It's like those cars switching orders on their commute to work. That is our commutative. Something I want to just insert right here is that in commutative, we are going to get comfortable with using letters as numbers, right? There are unknowns. So if you ever see like an x times y, it's a commutative property if it's y times x. It's that same idea, you're just switching them. And variables right next to each other, that means multiply. Just so you guys know. All right, you guys are going to try an example of each of those. You'll have to tell me which one it is.